can I ask the speakers just to come to the stage for a group photo? Your Excellency, would you like to join us?
Hürmetli қатынасушылар, камераңызды қосуыңызды сұраймын. Қазір топар болып бірге суретке түсуіміз керек болып тұрды. Залдағыларға айтылған ба деймін, кешіресіз.
The session will begin shortly. Please wait a moment. Thank you.
Сессиямыз біраздан кейін басталады. Сұраймыз. Рахмет.
Hi, everyone. We're just about to start the session of Inclusive Green Growth for All. So I'm just going to give it a second for everyone to get ready. Okay, thank you for everyone for joining online and those joining in person. Welcome to the GGGW session, Inclusive Green Growth for All. This session convenes different actors to share interventions at political, social, and economic spheres for achieving inclusive green growth. It will explore entry points for leveraging opportunities and processes to build political and economic commitment in support of engaging diverse groups during the green transition. We have a great group of speakers, and as well as a panel discussion with a couple moderators, a couple panelists of youth specialists in agri-technology as well as in community for household hazardous waste. I'm going to pass it on to the opening video by His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, the President of the Assembly and Chair of the Council, GGGI. So passing it now over to the video.
Your Excellencies, distinguished experts and guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the 8th Annual Global Green Growth Week. It is a sad world we live in today, with continuing wars of hatred, political instabilities, economic posturing and confrontations, and so many other uncertainties. Last year, I recall highlighting that 2023 was marked yet again with a new recording breaking temperatures and severe weather events. This year, scientists are already predicting with a near certain confidence that the year 2024 will surpass previous global warming temperatures. At a time when the global community should be working together to fight the climate crisis and its impact on livelihoods, we are instead waging violent wars against each other, spending billions on machines of war, and expending great amounts of time and energy to fabricate, distort, or justify the narrative of these actions. Yet, we have witnessed again and again throughout modern history how we, the global community, can come together to turn common challenges into opportunities. And we must do that now and work to fight the climate crisis with the sustainable development and adaptation. There is no denying the urgency and enormity of the challenges, and the Global Green Growth Institute, GGGI, is striving to building a low-carbon, resilient world based on the green growth model of sustainable and inclusive growth. The theme for Global Green Growth Week 2024 is Green Growth in Times of Uncertainty, because GGGI is determined to double down on accelerating green growth. GGGI sees green growth as a way to reduce carbon emissions with environmentally sustainable and socially inclusive growth, which helps enhance people's livelihoods with green jobs, improved environment, and even contributions to peace and social cohesion. In other words, green growth needs to be a holistic approach that is appropriate and befitting of the unique needs of the many diverse GG, and to scale up the efforts for the greatest impacts. We need more governments, businesses, and civil society groups to join us. Therefore, I am proud that this year's Global Green Growth Week is once again bringing together policymakers, thought leaders, investors, and innovators from all over the globe to share experiences and discuss solutions. This broad collaboration across national borders and sectors will be the foundation to even greater future success. And I am delighted that once again there will be a special emphasis on young people and their pivotal role in a greener future. Young people will be more impacted by climate change, despite having contributed less to the problems. Therefore, they have every right to contribute to the solutions, and I have no doubt their energy, creativity, and passion will be important assets. Allow me to conclude by recognizing that the challenges before us are immense and urgent. But let us also remember that together we can turn enormous challenges into meaningful opportunities and historic successes for a safer, greener, and more sustainable world for ourselves and for generations to come. I extend my best wishes for very productive.
Thank you to his. I'm going to pass the floor now to Sokhna Ngum, who is GGGI's Senior Officer in Gender and Social Development, for some introduction to this session. Sokhna.
Thank you, Francesco. Thank you all for joining us today online and in person. It has been really interesting to hear the first session and hear all the inspiring stories of what young people have been up to globally. We will admit that not all of us fall under the requirements of Y4S on what is a youth, but we were all youth at one point in our lives. And we're doing the work that we do because we believe in making the world a better place, not only for the current generations, but future ones as well. And when we talk about sustainability, the one thing we always have to remember is that there are three prongs to it, but they're all very much interlinked. So the economy, the social side, and also the environment. And you have to invest in all three in order to have a sustainable world. And if we do not invest in our people, not only the young people, but also all different types of people, because we all sit at an intersection. We all have our own unique experiences and lived experiences, but when we're living in times of uncertainty, not all of us are able to thrive or survive these very challenging times. And so therefore, as policymakers or even the private sector or civil society, we have to make sure that we're thinking of the people and how our work impacts them. And we have to make sure that we don't only look at them as being beneficiaries, as Mahamadou said earlier, but also as change agents. And we've heard already what a lot of young people are doing with very few resources or support in terms of making the world a better place. So how can we continue this to make sure that not only young people, but also women or people with disabilities, indigenous communities. So not only are we not doing harm, but how can we harness some of these co-benefits to make sure that full and meaningful participation is really happening in this world. So I'm just going to cut that here to again say really looking forward to this session as well and hearing more inspiring stories, not only when it comes to what young people are doing, but also women and people with disabilities. This is the second year running where we have had an opportunity at GGG Week to open the floor and be as inclusive as possible and include as many diverse voices and experiences as possible. And we look forward to continuing to do that in the coming years. And again, thank you very much for joining us and looking forward to this session.
Hi, everyone. Apologies. We're trying to track down one of our speakers at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pass it now, if available, straight to our project, showcasing our GGGI inclusion in microgreens cultivation, the case of Uzbekistan. So if Aaron Russell would be available now, or someone from the Uzbekistan team, we'll skip over the keynote speech for now, and then when Madeleine Diouf-Sarr is able to arrive, we can move on to the keynote speech afterwards. Apologies, we're also waiting for the representative from the Uzbekistan team. So I think I see Anisa on the line, who's one of our panelists and an expert in inclusion in her field of in community for household hazardous waste. So I think the plan is going to go straight to the panel discussion. I know that Mohammed, who is part of the panel discussion, hasn't joined yet, but I think we can start just with Anisa and I, and then with Mohammed as well once he joins. And then we'll move on to the Uzbekistan case, and then the keynote speech from Madeline Diouf-Sarr, who's the Director of Climate Change and Sustainable Finance, Ministry of Environment and Ecological Transition in Senegal. So Anisa, I see you on the screen. Give me a, okay, I see a
Hi.
wave, so I think you're on board with the
Yes.
change of structure. So again, thank you everyone. My name is Francesco Dinmore. I am the Junior Professional Officer at GGGI for Gender and Social Inclusion. I work closely with all of the regional directors in integrating inclusion in our project design, in our programmatic solutions, in our policy work. And I'm really excited to be joined today by Anisa. Anisa, would you be able to introduce yourself to the
Sure.
panel today?
Hi, everyone. Good morning from Indonesia. My name is Anisa. I'm from Indonesia. So I'm currently as a research director of the ASEAN Youth Community for Household Hazardous Waste. So I'm responsible to develop knowledge management and the learning community development on the zero waste management. I'm currently supervising a project with the assistance by UNESCO APSEU from Korea, and I got $1,000 to develop a circular economy and entrepreneurship education for women waste workers. And the project is it aims to promote green job opportunity for women waste worker in our pilot project. Since in Indonesia we have barriers in terms of the green job for underrepresented group, where most of green job opportunities that designed by the government, they only mostly focus on formal sector, and then that's why this is my initiative. So yeah, I'm passionate about gender, community, and also a green transformation. Back to you, Francisco.
Thank you, Anisa, so much. I see that Aaron has joined, and I'm being whispered to by my strategic team that perhaps we should circle back to the Uzbekistan case now, and then we can come back to the panel discussion afterwards. But thank you, Anisa, for being flexible and introducing yourself. So I'll pass the floor down to Aaron for a brief introduction on the inclusion in microgreens cultivation project as part of Uzbekistan's work in GGI's work in Uzbekistan.
O'zbekistonning случайini
Aaron?
o'tamiz azimizdan.
Thank you very much. Apologies for the delay. My name is Aaron Russell. I'm the country representative of GGI, a $5.6 million Quaker-funded project on climate-smart agriculture in the region of Karachi, Pakistan, and I'm very happy to introduce one of our key participants. Mrs. Abdullaeva. She is a lecturer in Russian language and literature, and she is from Karachi, Pakistan herself. And having lived in Germany for many years, she learned about microgreen cultivation. It is the producing young vegetables you can produce under lamps in your home. As she is a woman living with disabilities, though not with the disadvantages of some of the poor people in the regions that we're working in, she took the initiative to organize a training for women in the region of Karachi, Pakistan, to be able to train people so they can enhance their food security and do economic activities in their homes. And so we were very pleased to collaborate with her and the Association for Disabled People to conduct this training. I'll be happy to turn over to her to have her tell you a bit more about this activity.
Endi so'zni Marha Abdullayevaga beramiz. Ол bizlar жұмыс алып бара жатырған аймақ Қырғызстан Республикасында жасайды. Сол орыс тілі һәм әдебиеті бойынша лекция беретін мұғалім болып әзірде жұмыс істеп жатырды. Сонымен бір қатарда Марха көп жылдар давамында Германияда жасаған һәм сол жерде органик өнімдерді үй шариғатында қалай өсіру үйренген. Ол қазір үй шариғатында сол лампочка астында палыз өнімдерін нәлелерді өсіріп жатырды. Hamde сонымен бір қатарда аймақта жасайтын адамдарға, хаялларға сол бойынша өзінің тәжірибесін бөліп оқу семинарлар шөлкемелестіріп келмекте. Бұл арқылы ол жәмиетке өз пайдасын тигізіп жатырды. Hamde адамдардағы азық ауқат қауіпсіздігін еледе тұрақлы қылуға, жақсылауға өз үлесін қосып жатырды. Енді мен сөз кезегін Марха Абдуллаеваға берсем.
Сәлем. Мен Қарақалпақстанда жасаймын, атым Марха. Мен
Good morning, I live in Karalpaqstan. My name is Marha.
осы микрозелень бойынша үйреніп, шұғылданып келемен. Жүдә қызығушылығым қызығып өсіріп келетұғын едім. Осы жылы мен тренингқа қатынастым, идея тасладым. Қарақалпақстанда жасаушы имканият шеңкленген хаял қызлар үйлерінде өзін-өзі тәминлеу һәм мотивация беру үшін идея тасладым. Һәм осы жылы менің идеямды қолдап қуатлап, Қарақалпақстанда инновациялық орайы GGGI һәм койка менің инициативамды қабылдап семинар тренинг өткерді.
So, my name is Marha. I live in Karalpaqstan. So I have been interested in microgreen development, in growing microgreen vegetables at home for many years. So with this pursuing my interest, I participated in the training this year, and I gave my ideas on how we can bring more benefits to the females of our community with disabilities so that they can provide self-employment and in order to motivate them. So my ideas were considered, and I participated in this training organized by GGGI, KOICA, and of course GGGI KOICA and the Innovation Development Center of Karalpaqstan.
Тренингта біздер әйел қызлар, имканият шекленген әйел қызлар көп мағлумат алды.
We got a lot of information in this training.
Көп мағлуматларды алды һәм өзлерін тәминлеу, кейін ала бизнеспенен шұғылданып кетуге жүдә бір үлкен мотивация болды деп ойлаймын.
I think they got a lot of insights on how to provide self-employment and further develop their own businesses.
Мен өзім үйде имканият шекленген бұл әйел қызлар үйінде бір кішкентай бір уголок микрозелень өсіріп, һәм өзінің семьясына денсаулықтарына пайдалы деп ойлаймын.
I think it's very useful, not only economically, but to their well-being as well, to have a small space in their home set aside to grow microgreen for the well-being of the disabled women.
Бұл жерде жүдә қуанышлы болып өтті бұл семинар, жүдә әжайып болды. Мен сол қызлардың көзлерінде жүдә қуанышты сездім. Жәмиетке һәм өзінің семьясына жүдә пайдасын тигізетұғынын олар өзлері соны сезді. Кейіншелік өзін тәминлеу, тәминлеуде үлкен үлесін қосып, үлкен мотивация болады деп ойлаймын.
I think this workshop has been a great success. I could see it in the joyful eyes of participants, of course, participating women. And I think that this workshop is going to be a game changer for them in order to continue doing their own businesses at home by having these microgreens.
Жүдә рахметім шексіз, қызлардың да рахметі шексіз, өздері де көп рахмет айтып атырыпты, мінәттаршылығын айтып атырыпты, койка, GGI һәм койкаға.
I take this opportunity to extend my and other girls participating the workshop gratitude to Koika, to GGI for organizing such a wonderful event.
Thank you very much, Ms. Abdullaeva. Thank you very much for joining our session. I'm sorry, it was very early in the morning. Thank you very much for showing the beautiful microgreens in your home as well.
Абдуллаева ханым, сізге көп рахмет. Қолайсыз уақытта азанда ерте болса да со разы болып бүгін қатынасып, қызығыс білдіргеніңізге, әмде бізге өзіңіздің ханаңыздағы микрозеллелерді көрсеткеніңізге айрықша рахметлер айтамыз. Дауысым естіліп жатыр ма? Пікірлеріңіз болса айтсаңыз болады. Мархапа.
Thank you, Marha, and thank you, Aaron, for being available today. I understand that it's quite early for everyone there, so really appreciate your availability and your insights. Thank you so much. I think it's really useful to have some practical examples on how inclusion is being integrated into project design in different areas, and so thank you again for being available to speak on this. I'll move on to the panel discussion now with Anissa and Mohammed. I see Anissa on the screen, but just double checking with our communications team whether Mohammed is available. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I have the green light. Great. So Anissa, we heard from you, your introduction. I'm wondering if maybe I could pass it over to Mohammed now to introduce himself, his experience, and his work.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Francesco, for the opportunity. Thank you for this opportunity to be here today to share my experience and learn from the discussion. Also, I'm sorry for the delay, and I also won't be able to turn the camera as my connection is unstable something. I will introduce myself firstly. I'm Mohammed Yusuf. I'm 24. I'm from Egypt. I'm fresh graduated from Faculty of Renewable Energy Engineering from Heliobas University for Sustainable Development in Egypt. I'm working now as a teaching assistant in the Faculty of Renewable Energy Engineering at Heliobas University. I'm a founder of AgriEagle startup for sustainable, smart, integrated product in irrigation. We focus to solve the water poverty problem in Egypt and Africa. So through AgriEagle, we now work in 2 countries, specifically in Egypt and Libya. And we hope to cover Africa, all Africa, in 2030, inshallah, in the future. And nice to meet you all. And let's go to our discussion today. I'm very passionate to continue our discussion.
Thank you, Mohammed, and thank you, Anissa. I understand, Mohammed, it's quite early for you in Egypt. So again, thank you for being available at this time. Anissa as well. I know it's quite early, so we really appreciate having you today here in the panel. I'll jump right into it. So we have a few questions for Anissa and Mohammed on inclusive green growth for all. And, you know, inclusive objectives are firmly embedded in SDGs. And yet, if we see it, inclusion in the green sector is at times treated as an afterthought. So with this question, I'd kind of like to begin with this context, I'd like to begin with maybe a broad question. And I think that Anissa Noor is the ideal person to address it. So Anissa, why should inclusivity be at the forefront of green growth strategies?
Yeah, I think the first point that we need to highlight that the core value of the Sustainable Development Goal is a no one left behind. So when it comes to green growth and then green transformation, it opens opportunity like the green jobs and also investment. But unfortunately, grassroots communities or vulnerable communities such as women, indigenous people, disability group, youths, they are often to be left out in the decision-making process. And that's why green development and also green growth should be recognized as gender equality to ensure that how their quality should be involved not merely as a beneficiary, but also how they can lead decision-making process. They take initiative, and also the policy outcomes will align they needed in the real world. I think that's why the government and also decision-making process should acknowledge inclusive policy by leveraging public participation. And then the public participation means that how inclusive and integrated communication between government and then society, and then how they can be heard and then they can be seen, and also how the policy also should be aligned with the community needs, social and economy driven. And then because when it's come to the climate change, sometimes the policy outcomes they are quite very biased and not really appropriate to the real world of the community. Back to you, Francis.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anissa. I think you kind of raised up two good questions. The first one is, why are we doing this? Why are we doing green growth, and why are we doing inclusivity? And solving climate change is all well and all, but if it's not going to benefit the people on the earth, then there's not much point, and it should benefit everyone. And so by placing inclusivity at the forefront of our green growth strategies, Anissa, I completely agree with you. We're in a way filling in the gaps of people who might be left behind. So definitely two principles that we have to keep in mind. And I can imagine, Anissa, that there are many challenges that we face when integrating inclusivity within green growth strategies, and of diverse groups benefiting and participating in the green transition. And so, Mohammed, from your perspective as a youth entrepreneur and a founder of an agri-tech startup, I kind of wanted to hear some of the key challenges that you've encountered that maybe that the policymakers, the government stakeholders, and the green growth project designers in the room and listening online will be able to take and then implement into their work. So passing it over to you now, Mohammed.
Yes, well, thanks for this question. This is a very important question because we have and we face many challenges in the beginning of our startup. One of the biggest challenges I faced since I decided to establish this startup is the procedures of registering the company and making it a legal entity, so that I can apply for fair funding to help me manufacture at least 5 products or 5 copies of my products. There are many complex stages that in my opinion are beyond what at 20, 30 years old thinking about establishing a startup that offers solutions in agriculture technology can handle. Another challenge I faced is the weak financial support from incubators and accelerators. We do have a large number of incubators and accelerators in Egypt and in Africa, but the amount of funding is very limited to create a real breakthrough for startup. Additionally, there are some missing concepts that are not clarified to young people at the beginning of their journey to protect their intellectual and taking very slowly. Okay, so to protect their intellectual and manufacturing rights, there are many they have many procedures that are taking very slowly. If an entrepreneur decides to join in incubator with minimal funding, it requires 6 months to first enter a training program, then present proposal. If selected as one of companies that want entry into the incubator, they then wait another 3 to 5 months to obtain a minimum funding to create the final product from the project. Look with me. It has taken at least a year just to reach the first version of the final product. So how long should it take us to manufacture and enter the market? This is the most difficult stage, which is how to enter the market and reach your target customer segments.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mohammed. You raised some really great challenges that I hope the people in the room are being aware of next time that they're designing their policies and projects. That, you know, for youth, the ease of business for greenpreneurs is not easy, especially for young people registering as a company, the weak financial support. And I think maybe, Mohammed, I'll ask you one more question, and sticking on the topic of financial support. You know, a report by the Commonwealth revealed that climate finance for youth is predominantly small size grants or awards, and that most of the funding comes from international organizations and UN agencies, and there's a very limited participation by the private sector, which obviously is not sustainable for young entrepreneurs in their journey to starting and running their own green technologies. So Mohammed, continuing on with you as a technology founder, can you share a bit more of how climate finance has played a role in your journey? I know that you've listed some challenges already on climate finance, but maybe your ideas on scaling up the amount of climate finance being directed to the youth. So back to you, Mohammed, now.
Okay. According to this side or climate finance, to make the resource more sustainable and to help the entrepreneur to overcome this challenge, I want to say we have to create a standard and clear standard for this side. If I want to get my funding to create a real impact for economic and social and environmental, so I have to make this clarity, and I have to create a plan or sustainable plan for the future. According this side in Egypt, and the first stage and the first stage I decide to create my startup. I think it's very difficult according to the experience and the weak experience that we have in the beginning of our startup. So we have to create an strategy for private sector based on incubation and accelerator, and governmental sector also. So the real challenge in this cycle based on the governmental policy that we have to do to make our startup are eligible for the next year to be able to apply for fund or for enough funding to create our product and to apply and launch in the market.
Yeah, thank you, Mohammed. And I think you really hit the nail on the head when you're talking about standards and guidelines. I think we're living in an exciting time in terms of climate finance and how it's developing, and the new taxonomies coming into place and guiding the private sector into funding the necessary gap to combat climate change. But it would be great, as you said, that these standards and guidelines acknowledge the gap of youth climate finance, and not only youth, but to all other vulnerable groups as well, to women, people of determination, migrants, and other groups. And another key challenge that we talked about was green skills. And so in 2023, the World Economic Forum reported that the global demand for green skills has risen 40% since 2015, but only 13% of the labor workforce actually possess the skills that organizations need and want. So there's a bit of a disjunction between the demand and supply of green skills. We have a great demand, but our supply is lacking. And so, Anissa, I think you'd be really great in answering this question from your work in circular economy and green jobs in Indonesia. And so could you highlight maybe from your experiences what the changes we would need to skill underrepresented groups and meet this demand?
Okay, thank you so much for your question. Can I share the screen? I will present like the brief pitch about regarding the question.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Okay, sure. So, okay, can you guys see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe if you there we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a quick presentation to answer Francisco's question. So you can see there is a tree, and we know that tree consists of roots, branches, and the leaves. And then in terms of the context, I will put the context in this tree, and then this root causes, which is the roots of the tree, and then the root causes of the why underrepresented community, they are still left behind in the green job transformation. The first thing, a lack of standardization. The lack of standardization, what I mentioned earlier, most of government, especially in the developing countries, they only value and recognize formal sector or graduate workers. And then it is quite challenging for domestic workers such as women, indigenous people, and informal workers. A part of that, intercultural barrier towards green transformation. So when it comes to unskilled worker, it relates to how they have lack ability to align with the climate science, economics, and also innovation, because mostly climate jobs or green jobs, they are emphasizing a scientific approach. And then it is also relates to how improper targeting education and skill development is the most majority factor. And then the problem you can see on the middle is the result from the root causes, where unequal green job for unskilled worker in the low carbon development, or we know that it is a mismatch supply and the demands, and then the impact. So what is the impact for the long terms? The impact, unskilled worker, they are getting more vulnerable and left behind, and the extreme poverty in uncertainty green growth, and also informal worker I mentioned earlier getting left behind, and then the potential of climate mobility, where they will seek out a better job due to the midst of the climate crisis and also green transformation. So the solution case that what I'm doing with my team, we are ASEAN Youth Community for Household Hazardous Waste. We provide workshop and vocational education for women waste worker, and then the workshop relates to circular economy and green entrepreneurship, and then we teach them how to recycle organic and inorganic waste to be valuable products. And then because we got assistance from UNESCO APSEU amount of $1,000 and also mentorship, and then we develop these funds to make targeting capacity building on financial inclusion, and also we add more creative economy. Not merely previously we conduct only organic soap, but this fund and upcoming project next week, we will extend the products such as candle and also creative tote bag from the plastic waste. So this is kind of how we overcome our problem in our communities. So back to the question about how the root causes regarding the green job barriers in the 21st century, I think you can see the root causes. So the best way to address this issue by providing education for SDGs that has learning outcome in cognitive, social emotion, and then behavior. So what is a cognitive? So cognitive means that how workers and the learner, they understand general information that contain intersectional sector between environment and also economy. For example, how creative economy can make society to be resilient in the 21st century. And the social emotion is about soft skill, like a sense of belonging, how learners can adapt sense of belonging to community and the nature, and then collaboration with among peers and also stakeholder. And then behavior is about the action. It's about how the learner can take the lead responsibility and then the way they make decision-making process. So to achieve education for SDGs, there are many ways by different stakeholders, such as government. So government can provide targeting education policies such as regulation, public financing, and then how they can education for SDGs curriculum in the school, and then how they can expand the beneficiaries, not merely for the student, because conventional education, they only emphasize and enforce students to obtain high grades or academic achievement by understanding numeric, letter, and the language. And I think in the 21st century, education should be expanded along with the green job and also low carbon development initiative. So this is the civil society like us, we can do by empowering community or community intervention. And then higher education, they can develop curriculum and then extending beneficiaries such as informal workers and also indigenous people. I think back to you, Francisco.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answer. No, that was really fantastic. And Anissa, staying with you just for a second and talking about maybe digging a bit deeper into the role that engaging communities and community empowerment has in achieving inclusive outcomes in your work. I'd love to hear a bit more on why maybe projects should incorporate that into their design as well as policy.
Yeah, I think the project should be like collective impact framework. So I think that's by community empowerment, it's not merely educating people to understand in certain subject, but also the way we understand, the way we recognize unheard and unseen voices that are still sticking around. Because, you know, sometimes government, they have a lack of resource to understand what is happening at the grassroots communities. So educational approach and also community empowerment are the best tool to help and assist government. Hey, this is the best tool, this is the best policy, bottom-up policy you should recognize, you know, and then this is the way we can bridge the gap. And yeah, I think by empowering community, we can extend and then we can provide bottom-up policy, you know.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anissa. No, that was really great. And just staying with you for one more question before I go back to Mohammed, because I think the work that you're doing is really, really incredible and really insightful for today's session.
Thank you.
As I asked Mohammed about his challenges, I kind of want to move on to challenges that you face as well. So I can imagine in the work that you've described that there must be some challenges in incorporating the needs and perspectives of diverse groups in your project. Could you share with us on how you integrate inclusivity into your project design and implementation? And maybe in a way that, you know, the policymakers in the room, the project designers in the room can take back to their work and understand, okay, this is where I need to integrate it. This is how to do it.
Well, I think the best way to answer the question is a fostering communication with the community. And then not only just fostering communication with the community, but also mainstreaming intercultural awareness. You know, sometimes climate science or climate policy cannot be done without understanding the cultures. So the thing that we need to do, understanding the culture, basically like community behavior, geographical condition, and also social, what is the challenged socioeconomic condition. So sometimes when we want to drive the project, it is quite challenging, and then community, they don't really understand, they don't really acknowledge what we are offering to them. So I think extending intercultural project and also community behavior are needed before we starting our project. So it can align with them, their needs.
Thank you, Anissa. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I definitely see that, you know, some of us live in our green ivory towers away from the communities and thinking that we're specialists. And so we have the solutions and we can just write it down on a paper and climate change is solved in 2025. But unfortunately, as you said, that this is definitely not the case, and that we need to engage with communities and we need to empower them because they are the experts of their own challenges. They definitely do have solutions. What they don't have as well is resources to be able to benefit and participate in the green transition. So thank you for that. And Mohammed, I didn't forget you. I have two very important questions. We're going to move back to you now.
Francesco, can I add something?
Yeah, of course, Anissa.
Can I add something? Yeah, about the community.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we are conducting our second project with UNESCO APSEU. So we add a financial inclusion. So before we starting our financial inclusion workshop with our beneficiary, we are developing some pre-program assessment that contains questionnaire. So the questionnaire contains a basic question, understanding whether you have bank account, whether you have a good management in finance, and you're aware of insurance. I think that's the basic questions, basic question that we can conduct before we starting our project. So yeah, by gathering the answer and then the outcomes of the questionnaire, we can design and then we can measure what kind of the project that we can engage with our community. I think that's all. Thank you, Francesco.
Thank you so much, and I really do hope that that those in the room and online were listening to those insights, because I can imagine 100 different ways that you could integrate that into your project. So thank you again, Anissa, for those perspectives. So moving to you now, Mohammed, and sticking in kind of the theme of integrating inclusivity into design. From what I understand, Mohammed, your startup focused on smallholder farmers in Egypt. And so I kind of wanted to hear about your strategy for making your technology accessible and also sustainable for them. So passing it to you now, Mohammed.
Yes. Okay. I think this strategy take a lot of time from me to reach the clear strategy and the effective strategy to make my product accepted with the smallholder farmers in Egypt, and we have actually global standard for technology, but we have different standard to apply this technology to different community. If, for example, applying technology in agriculture sector in South Korea, totally different about the strategy to apply the same technology in Egyptian agriculture sector. So if we want to create an effective strategy, we keep in our mind 2 points: the financial ability of a smallholder in Egyptian agriculture sector, and the mindset of the smallholder in Egyptian agriculture sector. So the beginning, the cost of my technology, I think it was high according to the ability, the financial ability for smallholder. So I say to myself at this time, I have and using AI technology in my product by 100%. So can I use it by 60% and make the cost are affordable for the smallholder, and this is the break-even point that make my product are acceptable with the smallholder farmer. Not focus only the technology and high technology that we use in our product, but we have to focus another side, the ability, our financial ability for smallholder. It's affordable with the smallholder farmer. It's the secret with my product and make it accepted with the smallholder farmer in Egyptian agriculture sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. No, it's really great to hear about practical examples, especially in the agri-technology sector. I think you're paralleling a lot of what Anissa says, especially I think a key point that you discussed was there is no one size fits all, and not just one size fits all in the project, but in different communities. So just because you design a project for one community doesn't mean that it's going to work for the next. And then we got to keep this in mind as well to understand that the key unique challenges from diverse groups. And also a key point to reiterate is that the one size fits all strategy doesn't fit within the same communities. So just because you have smallholder farmers doesn't mean that they all think alike. We got to think about as well the intersectionality and integrate that within our strategy. So thank you, Mohammed. I think my last question to you, Mohammed, you brought up about AI technology. I know GDGI is beginning to dip its fingers in the AI green space. And so I'm wondering if maybe you could just elaborate a bit on your work with AI and how you integrate it into your work.
Okay, according to AI and the technology that I'm using and focus on to use it in my solution, which is the neural network. It's the techniques of the AI technology that I use in my product. So we talk about sustainable, smart, integrated irrigation machine with IoT and accurate data and recording data. So I use the AI techniques to record the data and take the data from the farm, for example, soil moisture and temperature and humidity in the farmer, and then we use IoT for take the right decision for the irrigation time and the irrigation conditions. So the two techniques that I used them in my product, Internet of Things, IoT, and AI techniques, specifically in neural network. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mohammed. No, it's really great to hear. I think, when we think about AI, the first thing that comes to our mind is definitely not inclusion or smallholder farmers. And so I think it's definitely good for the session today and for the audience to hear that when we are designing AI for green sectors, that this can be integrated into building inclusive strategies, into building designs that incorporate the different needs and challenges and perspectives of diverse groups. So it's really great to hear some firsthand experience on how that's being done. Thank you so much. I'm just being in consideration of time. I think it would be good if we have some just closing words from both of our panelists. So I'll maybe pass it to Anissa now, if you could just say a few last words on your experience and your work, and then I'll pass it to Mohammed to do the same.
Yeah, I think my final word, education and skill development for a vulnerable group, mainly unskilled workers, and also women group and indigenous people, since they are the most affected and exposed by the climate change. As for instance, like the women who are living under nature, like in agriculture, coastal community, or in the landfill area, they are the first person who expose it. So I think it is hardly necessary to make them more resilient by providing with this kind of situation. SDGs is the best answer to mitigate it, since they can act responsible and also they can adapt it with the core of the sustainable development goals. And also for the government, and I think government need to evaluate and then ensure that bottom-up policy and also how they can secure community at the grassroots level should be heard and seen, and then how green transformation not merely to intend at the high level workers, but also they can recognize at the grassroots level. I think that's my final word in terms of entity.
Thank you, Nisa, and thank you again for providing your insights today at the panel. I think everyone appreciated them deeply. Mohammed, I'll pass it over to you, and then we'll go to the Q&A session and open it up to the audience. And I would please ask if Anissa and Mohammed, if you can stay in the line for the Q&A, as I'm guessing that the questions are going to be directed towards you two. Okay, so just passing it now to Mohammed for some closing words.
Yes, my closing words. I would like to say entrepreneurship is the secret and will play a significant role in the future growth of the economics of developing country. Therefore, if we want to make a leap in developing countries, it will be through entrepreneurship. There must be facilitation of the legal procedures that we face at the beginning of our journey, and setting standards for the fair distribution of resource, not only regionally, but also within the country itself, establishing criteria for the fair distribution of financial resource. Thank you, Francis.
Thank you so much, Mohammed and Anissa. I'm going to pass it to the audience now for some Q&A session before we'll have some closing remarks by the Director of Climate Action and Inclusive Development, GGI, Ingvild Solvang. So passing it to the audience now. Any questions for our panelists? I see a hand already in the room. We're going to pass Ingvild our microphone, so just give us a moment. No.
Hello. Yes. Thank you so much for this really interesting presentations and discussion. So I have a question to the panelists, which is about your views on how we can better integrate these perspectives already off the bat when we start planning climate action. So how do we become better at including people, local communities, smallholder farmers, youth, entrepreneurs, those people that you are working with already in the planning processes? I think that is really essential. So I would like to hear your views on how well we are doing it and how we can do it better. Thank you.
Okay, can I answer?
Yeah, please, Mohammed.
Okay. Thanks for this question. As I mentioned, we have to focus to strategy, the financial ability of smallholder and the mindset, and it's definitely different from country to other country. As I mentioned, the mindset and the strategy that I have to do to launch my product in South Korea, it's definitely different about the strategies that I have to do to launch my product in Egypt. What is the difference? The difference based on the financial ability and the mindset of the target segment that I want to be in contact with them and sell my product to them. For smallholder, they have a different mindset about the investor in agriculture. So if we can implement with the technology and the financial ability, it will be very, very good for our startup and for our launch of our product, and not forget to focus on the problem and the specific needs and this time for smallholder, because it definitely different in by the time at this time or in the future. I hope that you can get it and answer your question.
Thank you, Mohammed. I think you're definitely right in saying that we need to pay attention to the specific needs of diverse groups. Anissa, I think that you'd also be really great at answering this question. So I'm wondering if you can jump in here and provide some perspective.
Yeah. Sure. So I think we need a clear structure before we starting our project, and then we need to ensure that our project should rely on the community-based solution. So community-based solution should be mainstream at the two levels. First is a program, and then secondly is institutional. So the program level means that community-based solution needs to measure in the monitoring and evaluation, and then how many beneficiaries that we reach, and then also how much. And the thing that the implementation also we need to measure, and also coordination and stakeholder engagement. So regarding about the institutional, it's about the human resources, our theme, and then we need to secure that our gender balance in our theme, because it can enrich our decision, our plan, our project, and also funding that maybe how we can secure our funding, and then the funding also how they can be aligned with the social and environmental aspect in the outcome. So monitoring evaluation is needed or institutional level. Thank you.
Thank you, Anissa. I'm wondering if also there are questions online. Oh, we have a question in the back. If we can pass the microphone. It's been a long morning.
Thank you. So hi, this is Carly from Hong Kong. So I have two questions. Because my work mainly focus on one pillar of it is related to climate advocacy and climate governance, and then the other pillar of my work is related to green job. So my first question is on policy engagement. I think both of the panelists mentions how we do community level policy engagement. So I do it on the ground with not only women, but also with youth in general. And I think that's echoes in the morning sessions with the youth engagement as well. So I think one of the barrier is that how we can engage them, but also make sure there is meaningful participation. I think the meaningful part and how to get it implemented is the most hard, but also very important thing. And the second question is more related to green jobs and green skills. And I think Anissa mentioned in her slides, which is very great. Because I do a lot of reskilling and upskilling projects in Hong Kong, but also regionally as well. I often find difficulty to engage governments and also business leaders in this, especially in Hong Kong. It's very financial centric place. That's why I would like to seek any examples, not only engaging the community, but also having government and also business leaders in place. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. I'm going to pass it over to the panelists of how you would like to tackle these questions.
I think my strategy regarding how we can engage with the youth regarding climate action. Sometimes it is quite challenging to gather youth in terms of climate action, because there are many factors due to lack of understanding, and also policy engagement with the government. The best thing that you can start, maybe firstly, you need to create a learning activities best action. Learning best activity action is not merely provide capacity building and educational approach, but it's about how we can provide them the space and then provide them voice, and then how we can measure their skill. So this capacity building, you can provide policy advocacy training, or you want to provide good governance, and then communication is about the training. And at the end, they can use the skill and then how you can integrate it to the local stakeholder in Hong Kong. So in terms of how to engage with the stakeholder in Hong Kong regarding the best, it's a youth initiative that relates to finance, climate finance, and then you can invite and you can initiate a focus group discussion with the relevant stakeholder, and then how you can demand them about the how financial district for young people, because mostly like the finance, basically they have potential to be involved in the green shift, especially young people, through entrepreneurship. So you can start entrepreneurship and a youth initiative event, and then you can invite them and then do some of like capacity building for the young people, and then consultation with the stakeholder. And then don't forget to invite higher education to ask feedback, what kind of the policy consultation, what kind of discussions with the financial institution, and then how we can engage with them, and what the sector that we can demand to them. I think hope it can answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anissa. And in terms of the second part of the question of how do we engage government, or how do we engage private sector to integrate inclusivity in their work and ensure meaningful participation. And I think, Mohammed, you are the person on the ground founding your own agri-technology startup. And so it might be a bit difficult to know on your hand on how to engage the government or how to engage the private sector. So maybe in terms of your experiencing, just shifting the question a little bit, of just maybe 1 or 2 sentences on what should the government know and what should the private sector know on the potential of youth entrepreneurship in agri-technology and the impact it can have as a way to incentivize engagement from government and private sector side. So over to you, Mohammed.
Okay. Focusing on youth, for my opinion, I think the best way to engage between governmental sector and the private sector, we have to focus on youth in high university or higher education, and we can make implementation between the university and the private sector through incubation and accelerator in every university, focusing on technology university, and make a standard for the project based on environmental and green impact that we have to do. So we can make the implementation in this point, but between the governmental and the private sector through the entrepreneurship center in each university based on technological universities.
Yeah, thank you, Mohammed. And you kind of just reminded me of a quote from Adam Smith. You know, it's not from the benevolence of the butcher, but that we expect our dinner, but from the regard to their own interest. So maybe as a way to engage government and stakeholders, understand what inclusivity, what youth entrepreneurship, what integrating community engagement can do to achieve the outcomes that the government sets is definitely a good strategy, Mohammed. Thank you. Just gonna go back to questions now. I think we have a question from Louisa. If she has the mic, she does have the microphone.
Hi, thank you both so much for sharing your insights. I have a question for you, Anissa. I can see that working in waste management, you've had opportunities to work with women and also focus on gender equality objectives when it comes to the informal economy. And as someone who also works in gender and social inclusion and climate change, I see that, as Mohammed also explained, every country or region has different socioeconomic conditions that need to be respected and addressed in ways that are tailored to their context. But I'm curious at the same time, we want to scale up and share the knowledges that projects can devise and how they've helped women. So I'm wondering, from your experiences in working on education and informal workers, how you think you might be able to take those lessons learned and maybe bring them to Egypt or other regions that may be experiencing the same things.
So the question is about how what I'm doing can be applied in different countries. Is that correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
Yes, thank you so much. So basically, I think that my project is very relevant in the developing country or the global south. So there are various informal workers, especially at the grassroots level, such as agriculture, coastal community. And then the way I engage with them by providing education for the SDGs with the targeting goals such as circular economy and the financial inclusion. So you can apply by on your way. It depends on what is your targeting beneficiary and then what the sector that you engage with it. For example, if you engage with the coastal communities and then they need to scale up in the the blue job opportunity, you can apply education for the SDGs by understanding the sector. For example, the sector of the coastal community mainly owned by community like ecotourism, and then how education for the SDGs, you can provide them by the 3 learning outcomes, what I mentioned earlier. For example, first is a cognitive. So cognitive is about the curriculum in the general, and then how the learner can acknowledge intersection and learning outcomes between environmental and economy. For example, how social entrepreneurship in the coastal community can make community in the coastal community to be more resilient by providing skill, vocational, and also understanding their market, and also social emotional. You can upgrade them, depends on the sector. For example, you can provide communication skill, leadership, and then how they can engage with the tourists, for example, when you focus on the ecotourism, because in Bali, mostly blue job opportunities that owned by community is ecotourism. And then basically in Indonesia, when it comes to blue job in terms of the coastal community, they are more progressive because basically they have a lot of resources to make it. And then our coastal communities in Bali, they can speak English very well, and then they can understand environmental ecosystem, and then they can teach tourists to protect algae and then environmental ecosystem, and then regarding of the behavior is about a decision-making process, and then how you can provide a leadership, and then how they can lead the position, and then how they can design a policy, and also how they can lead them into the real world, and then how they can engage with the stakeholder and an investor. So understanding our value and then understanding community behavior and the sector are needed before we starting education for SDGs when it comes to informal work with my fellow. Every country has a different way when it comes to green transformation and then informal economy. And then I think that's all. Maybe hope it can answer the question.
Okay, thank you, Anissa. We're reaching that point for the closing remarks. So quickly, I just wanted to say thank you to Anissa and Mohammed for being available. I understand that you had to get up quite early today, so really appreciate being available for the panel discussion. I'm going to pass the floor now to Ingvild Solvang, who is the Director of Climate Action and Inclusive Development at GGGI. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Francesco, and thank you so much to all the speakers of this really, really rich discussion today. Ms. Abdullayeva, who got up very early this morning to be with us, thank you so much, and it was really inspiring to hear how you are helping solve the climate crisis through your engagement in Uzbekistan. And Alan, we also have Mr. Russell, our country representative in Uzbekistan. Thank you there as well. And Anissa and Mohammed online here, Francesco, Luisa, Sokhna, and everyone behind this really wonderful session on inclusive green growth for all. Now, what we are really talking about is also what we call locally led climate action. It's something that is often discussed. And from my perspective, it's not just about a moral imperative or a human rights imperative of leaving no one behind, but it is also about doing the only thing that is actually smart. It is the only way we can solve the climate crisis. It is by engaging everyone and engaging people at local levels. And agriculture, which is one of the examples today, or fisheries. I mean, just looking at agriculture alone, if we have 600 million smallholder farmers around the world, together that's a multi-billion-dollar industry that can leverage climate action and that can tip the scale towards sustainable finance and not least sustainable consumption, access to sustainable food systems, and so forth. We have also talked about entrepreneurship, micro entrepreneurs, small scale entrepreneurs, and the financial inclusion that enable them to also engage in sustainable business practices, again, tipping the scale towards access to sustainable services and sustainable consumption and products. So we have heard some really wonderful examples of that today. Now, entrepreneurs and businesses create green jobs. And I know there was also someone here in the audience from Hong Kong interested in green jobs and the advocacy around that, which is super important because it's the green jobs that we will live from in the future. The green jobs will be fueling the future economy. It has to. And the youth are absolutely critical because they are the ones who have the power to shape the future, where green jobs become the norm. And listening to all the speakers and the discussions today do give us hope that we will be able to achieve our goals. Because it isn't about whether or not to be inclusive, really, that we are way past the question whether or not we should aim for inclusive green growth. It is more about the discussion on how we do it. Because as has also been discussed, it is complicated. It's actually easier said than done. We need smart approaches and we need mechanisms that make that finance flow down to local levels, down to the micro entrepreneurs, down to the smallholder farmers. We need to tackle the issue of financial exclusion and so forth. And I think we have heard some really, really good examples today of how it can be done. And I think these working models that we have heard examples of today are examples of progress, sometimes small progress that add up together to become the large efforts that we need to achieve SDGs and NDCs. So again, I would really, truly like to thank all the speakers today. Big wave to everyone virtually out there in the world. Have a wonderful day forward. Thank you to everybody here in the room. We have a quite full room here, so it's really great to see this interest in the session. So on behalf of GGGI and the Green Growth Week, thank you so much for today.